Hey, question for you. Let's go ahead and spin this conversation in the athletes turn analysts. And I think we should attack it from
gonna be good. I promise. I bet Draymond, bro, he's gonna slide into Charles Barkley's seat so well. It's not.
So let's talk about the guys who we think are good or going to be good, right? Charles Barkley, best to ever do it.
From a player standpoint, for sure.
I'm speaking players. I'm talking about athletes turn analysts.
I got to think of all of them. Yes, he would be the first person I think of.
Yeah, he's better than Romo. He's better than Aikman. Huh?
I said Kenny is great too.
Kenny's great. Shaq's not that good, honestly.
I think that Shaq is Shaq, and I think that his personality, just in general, is kind of what people gravitate towards.
His personality, and don't get me wrong, sometimes when Shaq talks about being a dominant player that can't be stopped, I think that perspective is good if you're talking about like LeBron or Giannis.
Shaq brings too much of himself into it.
Yeah, he goes, no, when you're this good, they can't be stopped. Yes, you can. You can be stopped, Shaq. Stop.
Shaq is talking more from I'm one of the best ever, as opposed to Barkley being subjective as I played in the NBA and like I'm telling you this is what it is. And obviously because Charles was in the league well before Shaq got in the league. Charles Barkley, I think, was drafted. He was in the 84 draft with Jordan, right?
Yeah.
Or is he the Ewan draft? The year after. Charles got drafted in the mid-'80s. Shaq got drafted in 92, 93. So like it was 92 because the Dream Team, because that was the argument that Shaq should have been on that team instead of Leitner. But
no, and that's the thing.
Charles brings a perspective of somebody that not only played in the 80s with Irving, young Jordan, Bird.
He was on a team with Dr. J and Moses Malone.
A lot of the good years of the NBA. What built the NBA to why it's so great today. He actually has so much insight, which is what makes him so appreciated. And even at the end of his career, he
caught Kobe and Shaq. He caught Kobe and Shaq.
Yeah, and he played those guys on the back end of his career. He got to see the younger Kobe, and still a prime Shaq, of course. Like he got to play against him. He fought Shaq. There's like, there's a video.
Right, their parents were friends.
They're friends. I mean,
but like when they fought, their parents were friends. Like they went to dinner after that game. Like their mamas were at dinner after that game.
Man, they're millionaires, and
unlike Young Thug and them, these are millionaires who can get over their shit, right?
I think that too. The one thing about the NBA, that was always a dream of mine. I always wanted to play in the NBA. And that's why, like I said, shout out to Colin. I live vicariously through him because he is literally the closest person I know that's made it. And I was there from the get-go. And like for me, I love like that idea, but it is a fraternity. Like they really do have this thing that they have. Because like I said, there's certain stuff that Colin would never tell me.
No, you
got to share it with his dad. He might share it with his brother, his mom, his sister. But like, even with me,
you have to be there for the conversation, or you'll never get it.
Basically, I have to almost be in the presence of when it happens, and then it kind of be out.
All right, so let's stay on these. Let's stay on these athletes turn analysts, right? I think that Pat Bev has the potential to become like a Perk, right? Perk was not good when he first started, but now. Perk is really good. And
really good or just better? I think he's just better. I don't know if he's really good.
I listened to his podcast with Swagoo. And you give him a little bit of long form, he gets a lot better. But I also think a lot of what Perk says that we don't agree with comes from the mouth of players in the league. So we'll beat up Perk.
He still knows and talks to.
So like Perk could get beat up for a bad take, but it's a take that came from the person's mouth that you wanted to come from, but they're obviously not going to go on record and say that.
Right.
Whereas if Woj tweets the same thing that Perk says, or Bill Simmons says it, we think it's great. But it's like, no, like Perk talks to these guys. Like Perk talked about how Russell Westbrook's, I think, wife reached out to his wife and was like, yo, You know, the way Perk talking about Russ, that ain't cool, this, that, and the third. And the whole part of the conversation was Perk was not talking bad about Russell Westbrook, the person. He was only talking about what was going on. Like,
KC, right?
Right. And their wives knew each other because they played together.
That's how Perk even reach out. Yeah.
So Perk is just analyzing basketball, but Russ took it personally because they knew each other and his wife voiced it. And maybe Russ didn't take it personally. His wife took it personally and voiced it to Perk's wife. So I think that Perk is getting stuff out of NBA players' mouths in a way that media members aren't. Like, media members are talking to agents. And Shams, he's getting some stuff because Shams is signed to Clutch. So, you know, they feed him some stories. Yeah. But, like, Perk is actually talking to his niggas. His niggas are like, hey, yeah, this is how I feel. And Perk is saying it in a way that, like, hey, bro, I'm going to use this. But I'm going to cover you when I use it. But I'm going to use this. You know what I mean? So that's why I kind of like where Perk has gone. Paul Pierce is no longer on TV, and it has nothing to do with the strippers. And it has nothing to do with the strippers and the blunts.
Yeah, it does.
No, he wasn't good.
Well, then they use it as an excuse, so it still has something to do with it. At the end of the day, they
made it.
They gave it to him.
They made the excuse. Do you think TNT fires Chuck if he's seen with strippers and blunts? Huh?
He's Chuck.
And he's good.
Charles Barkley might be more known now as an analyst than he was as a player. And now, granted, like I said,
that's sad.
That's sad. Age doesn't make us. We didn't get to see it. My mom, being from Wilmington, Delaware is 25, 30 minutes from Philly. It's basically a suburb of Philly, just like how New Jersey and all that other stuff is. Man, I am not going to hit this bet, even though Boston's going to win. Ugh, I cannot believe I took the under in the first half. I'm disappointed in myself. But nonetheless, this shit's going to go over unless it's a defensive second quarter. But nonetheless, oh, my God, it is most definitely going over. Boston is running it up on them. But nonetheless.
I'm so confused. Gucci is doing his, like, somebody's outside bark. And I'm locked in the office, and I don't know what Cindy's doing right now. I don't even know if she's inside. I'm confused.
Right. Bro, Boston is pouring it on these guys right now.
Are they really? I expected Boston to win this game, by the way.
I did too. I picked them. But the issue is that I took the under in the first half, and they're at
shit.
They're at 59 points. So if 41
they went on a crazy run, like, since I last looked at the score.
Man, let me tell you, I hope that they go scoreless for the first 5 minutes of that first quarter. I
last looked at the score. Let's talk about JJ Redick.
It doesn't look good at all. Yeah, JJ Redick's he's a great one, though.
I think JJ Redick has the ability to become like the face of ESPN basketball if he chooses to. Like, Jay Williams doesn't have the years in the league or the talent to be JJ. Tim Legler doesn't have the resume.
You mean Legs? What did I say about Legs the other day? Legs, let me tell you, he literally gets it because that's how you know who he is. Legs.
Bro, we didn't know, like, people don't know that Legs won a 3-point shootout.
Who cares? Craig Hodges won 3 of them.
I'm trying to think who else is the worldwide leader hired to talk basketball? Jalen Rose. He can take Jalen's job eventually.
Who? JJ Redick.
Yeah, on the basketball stuff.
Sure. Oh, for sure.
Because if you look at, like, their ESPN game day type stuff, they got more media members than basketball players. It's Stephen A, it's Greeny, it's Wilbon, and then Jalen Rose. Bro, they are working them boys like dogs. The men, they working them up. They are working like dogs. Huh?
Every day.
Like, Stephen A. Smith is getting up, doing a bit on Get Up, doing First Take, and still covering the game.
Every day.
Them Sports Center anchors are probably making $30,000.
Easy. Easy.
But, you know, I think, and And I think Fox has created this by getting certain players to come on, like Matt. And Matt Barnes is now an ESPN guy, but he kind of got to start bouncing between ESPN and Fox and talking basketball. And I think Matt Barnes is a good analyst. I think Steven Jackson, I don't want to hear him every day, but I like when he does guest hits because I think when you say you think one more time, please, nigga. I like the fact that they use a lot of the role players, like high end role players. Like people don't realize Steven Jackson averaged like 18 for his career. He was a very high end role player. I mean, he's Jamal Murray with worse PR, and he played defense. But when you have these guys, they can speak to what it's like to be around greatness and what it's like to play with greatness and what greatness does, but give a more real perspective. Because I think Kenny gives the best analysis on Inside the NBA. I think Chuck gives the most relatable analysis on Inside the NBA because Chuck can talk about being a superstar, but also talk about struggling to be great because he's a 6'5" power forward in a big man's league. And then Shaq speaks to your wildest dreams. Like Shaq goes, when you're a great player, you can go get 40 anytime you want.
Right.
I mean, Shaq, you can. And that really speaks bad on you because if you can get 40 anytime you want, then and you didn't, you lazy bum. Hey, your brother said JJ saving ESPN.
See, I don't watch ESPN enough though.
Me neither. Like they got Mad Dog on ESPN, and for years it was Mike Francesa and the Mad Dog, and that didn't work out. They divorced, and the Mad Dog is doing Wednesdays on ESPN, and Michael Irvin's doing Mondays. Look here, man. A guy can brag about getting a lot of women, but if he's paying for it, come on, man.
No, and I just think that JJ is a good example of it. Now let's just take a look at just the bad ones. Obviously, Paul Pierce is pretty bad.
Awful.
I tell you, I got a better question for you. What do you think of Dwayne Wade and Candace Parker?
They do.
I feel like Dwayne Wade brings more
they do nothing for him.
Because he played so recently and he's like so connected still with the current league to where D Wade is not. I don't think that he's necessarily good at what he does.
D Wade and Candace Parker are good enough.
Because she's a WNBA player and she's the first of her kind.
Hey, let's be honest. People don't care about the WNBA. The ratings say it. Like I'm not saying that we don't care about it, but I'm saying ratings say the game scheduling says people don't care about the WNBA. But D Wade and Candace Parker, I think they're good enough to be on TV, but I don't look for their YouTube clips. Like I look for a Shaq YouTube clip.
You would never.
I look for a Draymond YouTube clip. I look for a Chuck YouTube clip. Like hell. I like to watch Kenny run to the board. He found ways to make himself relevant. Like the other day, Chuck goes, Kenny's talking about some, you know what I did for Kareem and then or Hakeem, and then Chuck goes, get his coffee. Like, because he was that close to greatness and he was an integral part of that team. Like Kenny was like what they needed to win a championship. I think he has the highest playoff 3-point percentage in league history. Something crazy like that. Yeah, like, and he was a McDonald's All-American,
How Steve Kerr was, like, key.
Right, like, you get a certain level of respect because guys who played know that you weren't a superstar, but you were, like, that key role player that mattered. But Paul Pierce is bad. Who else is really bad? Antoine Walker's terrible.
Who's the talk?
He's on Fox. Fox, he gets on First Things First with Nick Wright now. And you can just tell he don't watch basketball no more. I listened to Cedric Sabalas on Colin's show, and he was like, Russell Westbrook's still a high-end player. He's just not what he used to be. No, he's
Cedric
not.
Sabalas, so the guy that won the dunk contest one year.